Well, good morning. Welcome to Living Beyond Limits. If you do not know, I'm Reverend Jennifer Spear, and we are a part of Centers for Spiritual Living. I welcome you all this morning, and if you are new to us today, from the very bottom of our hearts to yours, we welcome you, and we're so glad that you joined us this morning. And so we're going to begin the service by reading our mission statement that's on the front of the bulletin. So why don't you join Deetra and I in reading that? We are a sanctuary where people can discover and reveal the presence of God within their own being and experience their oneness with all life. Through the realization of this inner presence of love and peace, we give way to the evolutionary impulse of the divine and become a beneficial presence in the world. So that's really what we're doing here at Living Beyond Limits, is we are awakening to our own divine nature, to that presence of spirit, that one infinite presence and power and life of the divine that is expressing itself in and through and as everything that we see, and that presence also is expressing itself in and through and as us. Because what happens is, as we awaken to that truth, that divine presence is always closer than our very breathing, that means then what is true of spirit is already within us. That the love of spirit already exists within us. That the peace that spirit is already present here. That the power and the joy and the creativity, all of those things already live within us. What happens then as we come to know that then when we are out in the world and the world is not being loving or peaceful or generous or kind or whatever it is, we aren't as reliant on the world being that for us in order to be okay. Of course, we would prefer it, but when it's not, we can tap into that peace inside of us, the love inside of us, our own authentic power, and we can bring those things into that conversation, into that situation, thereby transforming it, making it different. We bring something different to the conversation when we are aware that that is already within us. And so I say thank you to each and every single one of you for answering the call of your own spirit, to be walking this path, to be bringing your light into this world in a way that is beneficial and in a way that makes a difference. Thank you for that. So I have a question for you. Do you ever feel like you get caught up in your anger or your resentment and you don't quite know what to do with it or how to resolve it, besides, of course, yelling? You know, to experience anger is really just part of being a human being. We all experience anger. We get angry at other people, I think mostly because we feel like we have somehow been done wrong by them. We get angry at events like traffic jams because they're going to cause us to be late to something that is important to us. We get angry at other events like flights being canceled that cause us to miss something. Sometimes we get caught up in brooding over our own personal problems, whether it's a problem that you're having in a relationship or a problem that you're having with your neighbor or something at work. And we get caught up in brooding about that and we get really angry about it. Or sometimes we just get angry at institutions and the way that they're working, or elected representatives. Or sometimes we can even get angry about things that happened so far in the past because we're just remembering them, and sometimes those people aren't even on this planet anymore, yet we're still mad about it. The thing is, though, experiencing anger is not the problem. One of the problems is when we express that anger in a way that is destructive, either to other people or to ourselves. You know, you yell at your spouse, or you yell at your kids, or you cuss at the driver who cut you off on the freeway, or you lash out at that customer service agent on the phone who is not understanding what your problem is or is not able to resolve it because you're so frustrated. Maybe it's more like leaving a passive-aggressive note for your noisy neighbor who's been bothering you. But whatever that part of the destructiveness is really usually about losing control. That's a negative aspect of anger. That's a problem. Another problem is when we get stuck in our anger rather than moving through our anger. And when we get stuck in that anger and it lives inside of us and we're not resolving it, it can kind of act like a cancer. And it just eats away at us, and it eats away at our relationships, and it certainly eats away at our own peace and well-being. And the third one is anger can be a problem if we don't take the time to look and see what is underneath the anger, to see if there's hurt or sadness or fear, and to address what it is that is underneath that anger. Because I've talked about this, anger is a secondary emotion. It tells us most often there's something underneath it. So if we don't recognize what it is that's underneath our anger, we can never address it, and therefore we can never resolve it. So all of those ways of expressing anger or experiencing anger really destroy relationships. They make us feel bad about ourselves. They hinder or harm our self-esteem. They sabotage our peace and our well-being. And basically, they are unproductive. Thich Nhat Hanh said, this is called cooking anger. He said, your anger is like a flower. In the beginning, you may not understand the nature of your anger or why it has come up. But if you know how to embrace it with the energy of mindfulness, it begins to open. You need to sustain your mindfulness for a certain amount of time in order for the flower of anger to open. It's like when you cook potatoes. You put the potatoes in the pot, cover it, and put it on the fire. You have to keep the fire burning for at least 15 or 20 minutes in order for the potatoes to cook. After that, you open the lid and you smell the wonderful smell of cooked potatoes. Your anger is like that. It needs to be cooked. In the beginning, it's raw. You cannot eat raw potatoes. Your anger is very difficult to enjoy, but if you know how to take care of it, to cook it, then the negative energy of your anger will become the positive energy of understanding and of compassion. You can do it. You can transform the garbage or the chaos of anger into the flower of compassion and understanding. The secret is to generate the energy of mindfulness. Embrace your anger with a lot of tenderness. Your anger is not your enemy. Your anger is your baby. It's like your stomach or your lungs. Every time you have some trouble in your lungs or your stomach, you don't think of throwing them away. The same is true with your anger. You accept your anger because you know you can take care of it. You can transform it. Mindfulness recognizes, embraces, and relieves. So one of the principles that we stand on at Living Beyond Limits and at Centers for Spiritual Living is that life is for us. If God is for us, then life is for us. So what if then your anger also were for you? What if our anger was for us? What if the real problem isn't really having anger, but it's really just not recognizing that there is a purpose to our anger? What if the problem is just simply not knowing how to transform our anger into something positive? There's a story that says, once in a small village, nestled amongst the hills, lived a man named Aaron. He was notorious for his volatile temper. People would often avoid Aaron, fearing the eruption of his anger. Children were advised to not get too close, and even adults would only interact with him if necessary. One day, a monk named Leon visited the village. He was traveling from one region to another, spreading the teachings of mindfulness and gratitude. Leon, unaware of Aaron's reputation, approached him to share his wisdom. Within minutes in their conversation, Aaron's temper flared over a trivial disagreement. To the astonishment of the onlooking villagers, Leon calmly listened, not reacting at all to the outburst. When Aaron's fury subsided, Leon gently spoke. Anger, like all emotions, has a lesson for us. It's a mirror reflecting what's inside, showing us where we need healing. Thank you, Aaron, for showing me your anger. Aaron was taken aback. Nobody had ever thanked him for his anger. Curious, he responded, "Why are you grateful for my anger?" Leon replied, "Anger, when looked at without judgment, can be a powerful guide. It can show us our pain, our insecurities, our fears. It can also show us our values. It reminds us of areas in our lives that need love and attention. By showing me your anger, you show me part of your soul that's crying out for understanding." Moved by Leon's words, Aaron began to spend more time with him during his stay in the village. With Leon's guidance, Aaron started the journey of introspection. He delved deep into the roots of his anger, unveiling past traumas and buried emotions. The villagers watched in awe as Aaron was transformed. He became more peaceful, kinder, more understanding. His outbursts became rarer, and when they did occur, they were much less intense. As Leon prepared to leave the village, a transformed Aaron showed up to express his gratitude. "Thank you, Leon, for showing me the value in my anger. It was a key I never knew I had, unlocking the door to healing and to self-understanding." Leon smiled. Remember, every emotion, even anger, has its purpose. Embrace it, understand it, and let it guide you toward growth. This coming Saturday is actually the World Peace Day. It's a day that has been sanctioned by the United Nations, dedicated to world peace, specifically to the absence of war and injustice and violence. It calls for a temporary ceasefire in combat zones so that humanitarian aid and access can happen. So in honor of World Peace Day today, we're going to be looking at our anger. Looking at our anger and how we can actually use that anger to create greater good in the world, so that in turn we can experience greater peace within ourselves. And as we come to the world more peaceful and with more peaceful actions, then we create more peace around us in the world as well. And so if we let it, and I know you all have experienced this, if we let it, our anger can inspire us with its power to create change. Anger enables us to actually stand up and fight. Anger enables us to stand up for ourselves. Anger motivates us to set healthy boundaries, to be clear about our needs. It inspires us to speak out, both for ourselves and for other people, over injustices. And it names for us and shines a light on sometimes old wounds that we have that are calling out for us to heal them. Those wounds that want to be healed. Those are those triggers when we get triggered and get really angry. Anger lets us discover what our values are, our most deeply held values, the things that are most important to us. And then when we're aware of those, it enables us to bring those values to the forefront of our awareness so that we can align our actions with those values. You've all heard me tell stories about my neighbor. One of my neighbors has a boundary issue, I guess it is, with the property line. Mind you, he doesn't own the house, he's just a renter. But one of his issues is if the trash cans in the driveway go over the line of his property. And so Colleen has been very cognizant of that and looks to make sure the trash can is lined up with the property line, not over. It's not just the wheels, but it's if the little mechanism on the back that helps, if that is hanging over the property line also. So what he does, if the trash cans, he deems them to be over the line, he pushes them all the way into the driveway. So she comes home and she's sick of him pushing the trash can into the driveway when she has specifically not put it over the line. But that anger at him caused her to go over and have a conversation with him. He says, well, the person that lived there before used to do that all the time and push those trash cans over my line. And you know, if you give them an inch, they'll take a mile. Colleen said, I am not the person that used to live here. I don't put the trash cans over the line, so I would appreciate it if you didn't push them back into my driveway. And it stopped, the pushing the trash cans. But the anger motivates us to have a conversation. It motivates us to recognize what is important. What was important in that moment for Colleen was having peace, was being able to come home to a serene environment that feels safe and supportive and nurturing. So it helps us, our anger, to recognize if we look at what's underneath it, what is the value here? What is important to me that's not being met here? And to be able to ask for that. So in that way, like the song that Rick sang, everything is holy now. If we allow it to motivate us toward good, then our anger is holy and sacred also. That anger is the divine part of us saying something isn't working here. Something's out of alignment. Something isn't okay with my spirit here. And so if spirit is love, and if the essence of the divine is peace, if spirit expresses as unity and as oneness and harmony and beauty, whatever moves us to create more of that is spirit in action. Spirit speaking to us by means of our anger to get our attention so that we make a change in the world. If we explore our anger and what it is seeking to accomplish, then we bring greater harmony into this world. Then we create greater peace within ourselves. Then we create the world that we want to live in if we listen to what's underneath it. It becomes a catalyst for spirit to express in this world. So the title of my talk today is Count to 10. As in, when you're angry, count to 10 before you say something. And I'm talking about that either our anger can cause us to dislike people, it can cause us to disengage from people or from situations in our life, it can cause us to grow resentment, or it can cause us and motivate us to create a change. It can motivate us to change a situation or a circumstance so that it's actually in alignment with our highest values, with those things that are most important to us. I even think about getting angry about injustices in the world and wanting to stand up for other people. What a fascinating thing that is to me, because we can get really angry and it doesn't even affect us. But it's telling us that injustice doesn't sit right with my spirit. Something isn't right here. It's a motivator. Valerie Kaur, who is from the Sikh religion, said, divine rage is fierce. It is disciplined and visionary. It is the fearsome wrath of Ikajati, when she fought the demons in Tibetan Buddhist legends, or the fury of Jesus when he overturned the tables of the money changers in the temple in the Christian scripture. The aim of divine rage is not vengeance, but to reorder the world. It is precise and purposeful. Perhaps our task as human beings is to find safe containers for our raw reactionary rage and to choose to harness the energy in a way that creates a new world for all of us. Ikajati embodies a multifaceted presence in Tibetan Buddhism, representing both fierce protection and compassionate guidance. Anger represents the same thing, usually meant to protect us, and when redirected, can guide us to a solution. So what if your anger were simply there to tell you that something is amiss? To show you what is important to you. To show you what your deepest values are. And you know, cooking those potatoes is the time that it takes for us to hold our anger and to figure out what it's about and to figure out what is beneath it gently so that we can see what's underneath the anger. And so obviously the very first call is to count to 10, is to not react, to not express, to not engage when we are full of rage, because that's when it's destructive, right? Yet, Ernest Holmes tells us that energy must find an outlet. So what do you do with that rage? What do you do with that energy? You do something to discharge that energy. Whether it's go for a walk, whether it's write. I clean house. Boy, I can get some house cleaning done if I'm really mad. So while I'm cleaning the kitchen, I'm discharging that energy, and I'm actually cooking those potatoes because I start thinking about what this anger's about and what's underneath it. Of course, I'm fuming first, then I'm thinking. But you have to give those potatoes time to cook. You have to be with them long enough. And then the second thing is to ask yourself, what is underneath this anger? What does it mean? What is it calling for? What is it asking for? You're mad that your spouse is late for dinner after you've made this nice dinner? What's underneath that? Is it because it makes you feel like you're not important? Is it because it makes you feel like you are unloved? What is it that's making you so so angry about your noisy neighbor? What's underneath that? Is it because having a peaceful environment at home is important to you? Having a serene place to be? And what about the traffic? Getting angry when there's a traffic jam or there's a lot of traffic? What's underneath that? Is it because it's important for you to be punctual? And then the third thing is to ask yourself, is there something that needs to change here? Is there something that I can ask for? Is there something that needs to be relayed to another person? Is there a deeply held value that I have that is not being honored, that is wanting to be honored? You can ask yourself, do I need to spend more quality time with my spouse? Is that what would resolve this? Or if I asked, will you tell me that you love me, to hear that I'm loved, would that resolve the anger? What do you need? What's the need underneath what's happening? You have this need for serenity in your environment. Can you turn on some music that makes you feel peaceful and calm so you don't hear your neighbors? Could you close your windows? If it's nighttime, can you put earplugs in? What can be changed? What needs to happen here in order to get back to your peace? Can you ask your neighbors to be quieter? And what about getting angry about traffic? What needs to happen here? Maybe you need to leave your house earlier. Maybe you need to check that app on your phone that tells you what's going on with the traffic. Maybe you need to leave your house at a different time. but to ask yourself, is there a conversation that I need to have? Do I need to ask for something? Do I need to change something? What can I do to alleviate these feelings to make peace again in my life? Thich Nhat Hanh said, in everyone there is a capacity to wake up, to understand, and to love. We all want peace in this world. We want peace between nations. We want peace between people. We want harmony between political parties. We want harmony between religions, peace between races. We want peace and harmony within ourselves and in our homes and in our lives and in our bodies. Listening to what is beneath your anger and what need is asking to be met and what value you hold dear to you is pulling at your shirt strings, shirt sleeves, saying, hey, this is important. Hey, listen to me. Honoring that, valuing that, using that is the thing that creates healing, which is the thing that creates peace. And so, my invitation to you is to practice mindfulness. When you are angry, instead of reacting, take the time to take care of your anger. Those potatoes cooking in the water. Listen for and learn what is beneath that anger. And then redirect that energy toward good. Use it to inspire you to create change in this world, to create something positive, to resolve something that isn't in alignment with your values. And to ask yourself, what can I do to create this change? Maybe it's not about pointing your finger at them. Maybe it's about standing in your own power and saying, what can I do to create change here? To create positive change. And if it's appropriate to make your needs clear, make your needs clear. Ask for what you want. Tell the other person how they can meet them, but you do that with respect for yourself and with respect for the other person. And as a result of that, you'll be using your anger to reorder your life and to reorder the world so that it reflects the kingdom of peace, the kingdom of love, the kingdom of harmony that we all desire to live in. And so happy World Peace Day to you, and happy Peace Day to you every day. Blessings to you. And so I invite you to join me in an affirmative prayer. And so we recognize that omnipresence of that infinite one that fills this room, that fills all of time and all of space with its presence, with its creativity and its love, with its peace and its power, with its magnificence and its joy. Recognizing that as we lean into this truth, as we open our hearts and our minds to it, in comes rushing all that we could ever possibly need. For the gift has already been made. It is present, it is available, and today we receive that gift with open arms and an open heart. And so today I know that we let that infinite intelligence of spirit guide us and lead us into pathways of peace. That we allow that anger when it rears its head to be a motivator to motivate the change that is seeking to happen both within ourselves, within our lives, and within the world. For it is all holy now. And so we use it in a sacred way. We use our emotions in a way that serve the good, a way that supports us all in evolving and unfolding and creating this world of harmony and a peace that we long to be in. And so I speak this word not just about us in this room, but I speak this word about every person on this planet, knowing that right where they are is the fullness of this presence. And that right now it is revealing itself within their hearts and their minds as the exact thing that they need, as wisdom and guidance, as love and connection, as abundance and wholeness and health and prosperity. For it is all fully expressing itself. I speak this word about every single politician, every world leader, every decision maker, knowing that the highest wisdom of the cosmos lives within them and that it is revealing itself right now. That the intelligence that God is leads their decisions, their choices, leads them in all that they do. For I know that God is bigger than anything that looks unlike it. And God is having its way right now in every country, in every city, in every heart, in every home, in every mind. And so we just lean into that, hold our faith and our trust and our knowing and our observation on that. And we create a greater way for that to unfold in this world. And so it is with a grateful heart that I release this prayer into the creative womb of the universe, knowing that it is unfolding itself all around us. And for that, I am grateful. And I invite you to join me in saying, and so it is. And so I do have a couple of invitations for you as a way to participate in this family. One is next week we are going to be in the park right over here. We're going to have service in the park and then have a picnic afterwards. So we invite you to bring friends and family if you want, to bring a potluck dish to share, and we're going to celebrate the end of summer by being in the park together. The following Sunday is going to be an outreach Sunday, which means we will not be here. We will be meeting at Chris Braunschweiger's house. Chris, will you raise your hand? If you do not know where Chris lives and you are interested in coming, you talk to Chris. We're going to do an outreach community project of making sack lunches for people who are experiencing homelessness. We're going to make peanut butter and jelly sandwiches and then all the other things that go in with the lunch bag. So come together with us and make lunch. Pat and Mike are still doing a project working with people who are unhoused. If you would like to play with them in doing that outreach, they are open for that. Just to let you know, we have prayer support after service. If you would like a practitioner to sit and pray with you, will you raise your hand if you're a practitioner? They're happy to sit down and do a prayer with you. We have a ministry of prayer box. If you'd like to fill out a prayer request, you can do that and put it in the box, and we will support you during the week. We also have prayer shawls. If you or someone you know would like to be wrapped in that energy of prayer, there are prayer shawls in the back. You are welcome to take one with you. The practitioners are happy to pray over it for whatever the specific desired outcome is before you leave. And just we invite you to follow us on Facebook and Meetup and Instagram, and the videos get posted usually on Monday to share those with people that you think might be interested in what it is that we have to say here. And so I invite you before you leave the room to repeat after me, good fills my life now.
Good fills my life now.
I recognize it. I savor it. I own it. I live it. And so it is.